Um,
Okay, so just a quick recap for those that may be new to this weekly co-creation call. Um, Basically, we're here to kind of come together in a roundtable fashion to kind of discuss different things that we might be working on ourselves to that could bring some value to the table for all of us. And I've certainly got some updates for us. This again, it's just kind of an open forum style, although I've created a structure so that we can at least discuss different ideas and thoughts, and not just be all over the place. As you might have seen before, I put this idea of quantum simplicity together so that um, you know many people hear the word quantum and get very overwhelmed because they're like, well, that means anything, and that sounds very scientific. And so just to kind of recap here, attention equals currency. And that means, so much these days too, with the new energy in 2020. Um, everything is about where your attention is at. And your intention or your will is really your compass. Um, the map is your heart space, or that 0 point, right? So everything that's coming into our field is really resonating, is going to resonate with the heart, which is ultimately going to drive intention. And then we need to make sure we put our attention on that. And nature really is a great reflection of our uniqueness. For many of us, we have to kind of, it's a process to discover our own unique gifts, and many of them continue to show up as we uh, really step into this energy, surrender to the energy that's here now, and just so keep yourself open to be looking for your own uniqueness, even though you may have discovered some of your unique characters and traits. More of those will continue to show up, and I think looking into nature and seeing even within the same species of a plant, you can see uniqueness even within each plant. So um, that reflection, comes within us too. And then lastly, really just continuing to find more awareness in your space. And really that's heavily related to the photonic light, both within us and, what reflects out of us as well. And as I like to say, put your attention on your intention and then start taking heartfelt, compassionate action. That's why we're here to have these weekly calls. Just we're not here to, although my initial calls were much, much longer because there was a lot to cover. I don't think unless we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, we don't need to be here for hours on end unless, we've got some great stuff to cover, but we can get some momentum and start to co-create together so that we can fast forward a lot of what we've all been trying to accomplish in our own lives. And that's when the real power comes in, when we can co-create. Again, my own personal intention is I intend to bring unconditional love and conscious awareness to as many entrepreneurs, business owners, and other living beings as possible through my thoughts, actions, and behaviors in an each now moment, because I want everyone to grow, be protected, nourished, healed, fulfilled, and at peace in their heart now and forever. So that's why I'm here. I did put together 9 key areas so that we can at least have, you know, specific areas we can talk about. And one thing that I think is really key with co-creation and bringing us together to work on these types of things and explore each of them for ourselves is that small hinges move big doors. And sometimes we've got to close doors, old doors that don't serve us. But a lot of these conversations and you putting your attention on this call today is about finding those small hinges in your own life. And, before we came on, we were talking about Monica's, step towards deciding to juice for 4 or 5 days. And now 4 months later, she's still juicing, and she's transformed her life from that small step that she took, that small hinge that she moved. So I think it's so important that we understand that it's not some big thing big transition, although many of us may make big transitions. It's not that thing that is going to be the big, life changer, because in many cases, sometimes those those big things are, they had the wrong intention. You're trying to run away from things you haven't dealt with. And so thinking in terms of little actions, changes in behaviors and habits and things like that can make a huge difference even in a short amount of time. And I think Monica would attest to that just in the
Yeah.
4 months that she's been juicing, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to share on that, because if like I would have set an intention, or I would have said, oh, I'm going to do this for 3 to 4 months, it would have felt different, it would have felt like, I don't know if I can, I would have had like limiting beliefs. I would have been in my head. I would have been like, but how could I do that? But that wasn't my intention. I was just like, I just don't want to die, I just want to juice and not die. But like, it totally transformed. It was like, the food was actually killing me. Who knew? So it was like I had it all backwards, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have known then until I felt it. And it's just like, now I feel great. Now I don't even mess around with food. It's like I'm just juicing, pure juicy. And it's not that, it totally changed. So you're right, absolutely. It's powerful.
Yeah, you weren't, and I think that happens right during the new year. A lot of people set these New Year's resolutions and they have these big, aspirations, and that's great. I think it's important to set some goals, and I like to set 90-day goals. When I do my business coaching, I tell folks like, yeah, let's set, we have some goals we want to accomplish over the year, but let's break that back down to 90 days. What are we going to do over the next 90 days? But if those things are relatively new to you, then you can get in that space like you're saying, like, hey, if I had said 3 to 4 months, now your psyche and stuff will work against you, trying to unravel that and come up with reasons why you can't make it to the 3 or 4 months. But you were just saying, maybe I'll try this for 3 or 4 days and see how it goes. And I think that's key in terms of just making small decisions and saying that resonates with me. Let me go give it a try. In terms of air, the one thing that I think is important that we just reflect on, that maybe I didn't on the previous two calls, is that with us now being in the age of Aquarius, that is an air sign. Okay. And so it's important that we understand that a lot of the new stuff that we're going to see in terms of whether it be technology, understanding, the sciences, much of what we're going to see in the coming days, months, and years and decades is going to be related to air and the power that's in the ether, whether that's through magnetism or through understanding free energy. All this is already in the air, always has been, and much of it has been known for eons, and the occult has essentially, the secret societies and stuff that really run this game at the moment, but they're starting to lose that game. They've occulted that knowledge. You can look back at Tartaria and all this stuff that, a lot of truthers are talking about these days with the mud floods and Tartaria. You can see that all these technologies, I mean, even if you look at Dr. Rife and others in the early 1900s or late 1800s, all this free energy, healing devices, all this stuff was everyday stuff. It was normal stuff. Okay. And so a lot of this stuff that's coming, it is because of us, stepping into this age of Aquarius, and that being an air sign. And so just kind of, I'm bringing your heightened awareness to that idea, because many of these things that we're going to discover, whether it be plasma GANs or free energy or any of this stuff, is going to actually come from the air. And I mean, there's some elements of Bitcoin and things that really, that's kind of an air thing, right? It's like it doesn't really exist anywhere. It's not even a piece of paper or a piece of plastic. So, all this kind of stuff is going to play a role. And that's why I think air, the topic of air, means a lot more than just us breathing in air. And so as I've talked about before, really breathing awareness. The thing for me that I continue to do is to, do the breathing air through the water bong. It feels amazing. I don't really know its true impact because I've got other things that I'm doing in terms of consuming plasma GANs, and that continues to get better. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I can feel this instantly. So that's been going well for me. Obviously, I haven't. I need to get, and I'm glad that we're doing the call because it reminds me I need to order the breathing element, the tubes, Clayton, so I can attach it to the structured water device. So.
Yes.
So any discussion on that idea of this being the age of Aquarius, the air, and I'm happy to talk more about, anything here on the slide, but anything in that realm for you guys? Questions?
I remember you showing us a photo, and it kind of looks like a cycle, and it kind of hits this equilibrium mark where you do see like a crossover of when you go to Aquarius. Do you know what I'm talking about, Justin?
Oh yeah, sure. I can pull that up.
Yeah, okay, if you do. So I'm kind of still learning about, the age of Aquarius and all that stuff like that. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that actually means.
Uh-huh.
But how long is this cycle going to last? Because I know there's like a stage after that
one. Just about 2,000 years.
About 2,000 years. You're right. Yeah. We're in it. So it's up to us to a simple form is doors closing, doors opening. We really need to be present. The key is being present, being grounded. All of these things, even the food you eat, if you're not grounded, it doesn't do as much as it's intended to do for you.
Yeah, we're going to talk some more about that. Yeah.
You really need to be present in everything you do. Your conversation, the food you eat, what you eat, when you eat, and your state of mind when you eat. It affects everything that goes into your system. The air you breathe, the food you eat, everything is affected by what is on your mind. Be present. Simple.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and to build on that, is that we need to understand that New Earth already exists. It's already here. We're not fully resonating with it yet. So we have to continue to close the doors of the 3D of the age of Pisces. And I've got that screen up here now so you guys can see it. And start opening the new doors of Aquarius and New Earth and stepping into that wherever our role is. And right, some of us need to deal with our own stuff. And like for me, I've got stuff to deal with, but I feel like a lot of my energy and effort and intention is about how can I unlock these other doors, not only for myself, but for all of us. Right. And as you guys can probably tell, that comes through in the stuff that I do. So, there's phases, right? We all have our phases of like realization, stepping into this gnosis, but it is, as Clayton says, it's about being present and being in the moment. And there's, we don't have to get caught up in, really the rules of 5D and New Earth are that none of the 3D rules actually apply anymore. And so that's a part of this transition, I think, for a lot of us, is that we're still, we still have a dualistic system. It just won't be operating anywhere near like it used to, like what we've known. So a lot of those rules we have to kind of to just have to completely like, it's like flushing the toilet almost. Like, okay, well, all that stuff that, you know, doesn't serve us is bye-bye. And we have to see that almost the whole thing doesn't serve us. The stuff that that's led us to where we're at now, actually, none of it serves us, even though some of it was serving us and it was good and it brought great experiences. Those things are not what will open the doors in the age of Aquarius and beyond. So yeah, this is the sine wave of the Earth system, and it's generally about 25,000 to 26,000 years, and you know, we're just kicking off basically heaven on earth, and we were born into, at least in this incarnation, into, you know, the age of darkness, the age of materialism. So that lower frequency realm, and that's what's been going on here, and that's why you still see remnants of, you know, the nonsense that's played out, whether it's war or the court systems or all this nonsense of this division and separation. This is just, that's been the code that has been playing in the realm. And so right now we still have some of that polarity playing out as humanity fully embraces the age of Aquarius. And so that's why you still see some of the stuff that is not serving us playing out, because people are still stuck in the old code because they've been at it for so long and reincarnating into this stuff. And it's deep within, you know, the ancestral DNA that, you know, that's why you see that all these people are coming out and, you know, finding ways to heal themselves and working with other healers and, you know, soul coaches and all this stuff. It's because there's a need for it like never before, because people are starting to feel some of this new energy, but they don't understand how to, they're basically like children, you know, and even in the court system and stuff, that's what they consider us minors, that we can't handle our own affairs. So they handle it for us. And that's how they, you know, do their thing and you know, make money off of our labor and things like that, is because we don't know what we're doing. We're like little children. And that's what's happening in this transition, which is, it creates an opportunity for folks that truly have an opportunity to help people come into their own power and realize, wow, I had control the whole time. I just didn't realize it. So any questions on this slide before we get back to the main presentation? Does this help you, Anna?
Yes, I'm just taking it all in at this point. But I have been seeing over this year alone myself. I can see the moments in which I'm kind of faced with choices, and I can see like, oh, Anna, this is an opportunity that you have a deliberate opportunity to make a choice that can, you know, make an impact on the rest of your life. And so I've been feeling like I can manifest stuff a lot faster by being conscious in that way. And I've been seeing opportunities present themselves a lot faster these days. And so I've been, I guess with the age of Aquarius, I've been slowly kind of understanding my power and taking that leap of deliberate creation, I guess you can say.
I like that.
But yeah, so it's just it's a lot, and it's kind of mind blowing to kind of wrap my head around this age. That's, yeah, but I'm gonna just have to do more research too, but it is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the thing that just came to me as you were talking was the really, because it just helps you understand the physicality of the game or the realm or earth or whatever you want to call it, is that it is electromagnetic. So when we were in this previous age of materialism, the bottom side of the sine wave, that's the negative. And you know, and then the positive right? It's just like a battery, right? And then this is all, that's why magnetism and all these things we're talking about, it's about the energetics of your own life and your own fields, because that's how this realm works. And that's a gnosis that many of us have no idea exists, actually. And a lot of this new information that we're sharing is directly related to the fact, and that's the beauty of it, is that it's actually as complex as the 3D realm has made this idea of electromagnetism. It's not complicated at all, actually, once you see it work. If you've played with a magnet as a child, you already know how it works. That's how simple it is. And that's what some of the beauty of this is that this is all just about energy, vibration, and frequency. And so starting to get closer to understanding on these topics will allow you to kind of see, like, why does a structured water device work? Why does plasma GANs work? Why is food not the thing as much anymore? Or why are people moving away from meat to plants, right? So if you can roll back to this concept that it is electromagnetic, the whole system, the macrocosm and the microcosm, then a lot of this stuff that seems woo-woo or out there or whatever actually makes a ton of sense. And the old stuff that you thought doesn't really make sense anymore, because it's clearly messing with your own electromagnetic field of the body.
Yeah.
And that goes along with what Clayton said, where thoughts about the past or judgments on other things, whether that's people or situations, those are not serving your field, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's a nice takeaway on this slide too, is seeing that this is all electromagnetic.
One thing to remember here, electromagnetic, every cell in your body is electromagnetic. It's the communication system of your physiology, electromagnetism.
Yeah.
So start throwing in these outside influences, they have severe adversarial effects on your physiology.
I believe that for sure. Like I said, I've been I can see now that I have an opportunity to close a lot of doors, and I've been seeing that a lot of the doors have been they have literally been presenting themselves mainly in the form of like older friends that I've deliberately decided to close the door on, or fears of anxiety and things like those things have been like presenting themselves, and I've been having this opportunity to say, okay, how am I going to align myself with my best self? And you guys just talking about the plasma GANs and the breathing and all that stuff and juicing, like I can see how that can go back to the whole electromagnetic type of thing, especially with what was it called again? The cube, the primer field.
The primer cube, yeah.
The primer cube, just going back to that. Yeah. I can't.
Those videos are really eye-opening on how this stuff works, right?
Yeah, it is. It's almost like I'm becoming more aware of this dream reality state that it's almost like, someone telling you that you're dreaming and you're like, oh, and having to wrap your head around that this is a good game, that you have an opportunity to kind of create the game that you want to play.
Yeah, what's interesting about those primer field videos, which I watched a long time ago, like it's interesting because probably the way that you saw them was much different than the way I originally saw them, because it's really easy to see videos about electromagnetism and how it works and getting into the deep of that and seeing that as like a compartmentalized like science experiment, and not seeing it as like, no, that's the thing you live in and you don't realize it. And so it was probably interesting for you to kind of like see some of the stuff we've been talking about, but then go back to like his experiments and the things that he was identifying and understanding for himself, and how that plays into the world that we live in. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I think my slight introduction to kind of being able to wrap my head around this was, believe it or not, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And just like understanding like the Force and the things that they're able to do. And that's just been my way of visualizing that this is something that's not a dream. It's an actual thing that people are actually able to do.
Yeah, no, most of the movies are true. So these sci-fi movies are true in their own way. So yeah, it's cool that you use that.
My primer cube is water.
Yeah, which is perfect that you say that, my friend.
The magic is there. It's just it has a lot to be revealed yet for me, and humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unlocking the power in every drop.
Right. Victor Schauberger said it well. In one drop of water, there's more energy than it has ever been produced by all the power plants of the world.
It's true, and I've realized that
ever will be produced, because when you burn a drop of water, the result is a drop of water.
Yeah, and I think that's, I'm really excited about, some of the things I know that Clayton's working on, and just experimenting for myself. It's just been an onion, and I'm unraveling the layers of it as it relates to water, and its true potential, because a part of it for me is just, through gnosis that I picked up from Clayton, is that just out of the gate, like we can start to hydrate ourselves, hydrate our plants with a lot less water. We don't need as much as we think we need to maintain homeostasis. So, and to create abundance, like because I think that's a big thing, whether fabricated or not, and much of it probably is. This idea that we're all going to run out of fresh water. I know that it's because of the structure that's been put into place where they're controlling the water and buying it from different areas, and, buying up people's fresh water springs and then taking the water out and selling it to other people in the world. I think it's a part of that structure that's created this madness of we're running out of fresh water. But just to know that if we got water back to where it wants to be in the structured form, that water can serve humanity and Mother Gaia in many, many ways that we, in some cases, haven't even discovered. And the beauty is that now the stuff is available for everyday folks. And I just, I get it, but it just drives me nuts that there's so much money being spent on water filters and drinking water delivery services like Culligan and all this stuff. People are, huffing and puffing and carrying empty bottles to the grocery store and carrying back, these 5-gallon bottles of water to their house. Like, all this stuff is going on, and lots of money and energy and resources being wasted because this gnosis is not out there about structured water and creating living water. And unfortunately, a lot of these, even if you get into the woo-woo and the yoga folks and the people that are tapped into alkalinity and they're out here buying these essential waters and all that, they're still drinking dead water. And it's just unfortunate that they're spending a fortune on these waters that just are not, the body's saying, like, I'm glad you gave me something, but I can't even work with this stuff. I'm trying to do my best to be hydrated and stay in that alkaline state, but the stuff that you're putting in here is just not what I've been looking for. And I think just in human nature, you're seeing that humans clearly care about the water they're consuming, and they're spending money, time, energy trying to solve this problem, because they're starting to come into gnosis that, hey, this tap water is garbage, that this stuff they're serving up It's loaded with fluoride. It's loaded with contaminants, pharmaceuticals. It's garbage, and it's not serving us. And so a lot of people are waking up to that, but unfortunately, it's just kind of like what I call the graduated animal farm, where when you're a baby chicken and you're in the hen house, you think that's all there is. You think that that's a glorious place, and then one day someone opens the door to walk in, and the little chick sees that there's a beautiful land beyond the hen house. And then one day you get out of the hen house, you sneak through the door because you wait by the door. When the door opens, the little chick gets out into the yard and thinks, oh my God, this is glorious. This is amazing. But there's a fence 3 feet away from the hen house. But for a while you think that that's all there is. That's the beauty of everything. And then you realize that there's a hole in that fence, and you can go to the next level, right? And then that next level, oh my God, this is the new realm. This is going to be beautiful. This is going to be amazing. What you didn't realize is there's another fence beyond this is how they set this system up. Like, when people say, oh yeah, I'm free now, I figured it out. It's like, no. They were ready for you to figure that part out. They already set another fence out there for you to run into. And so, that's when I say the graduated animal farm, that's what they've done with us, right? They've tried to make us as stupid as possible. And so coming into this stuff, like, we just have to know that, that's what happened, right? So, okay, tap water is no good for you. Okay, well, we have a whole industry that you can pay money for, that you can filter out the stuff that we put in the tap water. And, there's a myriad of solutions out there to supposedly make your water better. But the true gnosis is, step.
It's still dead.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all dead. So, that's why, my relationship with Clayton, and obviously he's an amazing person, just, without the technology, we just resonated and have taken this message forward. And we, there's a lot more that we're going to be working on together to bring this opportunity forward, because, for me, and we'll talk about this, like I'll be in Costa Rica for 2 weeks next month, and that's in order to make a decision whether I'm going to move there permanently. My lease here in the States is up at the end of March, and so I don't plan to renew that. And so I'm going to be making some decisions, and I'm already in my mind, like, saying, wow, I'm so excited to get there to see where the gnosis that I have, whether it be about water or some of these other things, can really apply in a place that, obviously gets a fair amount of rain and things, but the people are probably still doing the same habits when it comes to water that we see here in the States. And I'm excited about bringing some of this technology down there and helping them out too. So in terms of water, like, for me, like, I've just kind of come across more on the GANs, really stepping deeply into the gnosis of GANs and plasma. What I started to understand about these fields, that the strongest field obviously comes from the 0 point, the heart, the soul, right? That's really where your soul cage is, at the heart. And in every other field, the other strong fields in the body are coming from the organs and the glands. So whether it's the heart or individual glands, they are all little reactors in and of themselves. They're all energy devices, quote unquote, in this bio machine that we have, the body, that is helping us maintain and grow and generate energy. Okay, so, and I didn't really fully understand that until I stepped into some of this plasma GANs gnosis. And what's happening is that the combination of the fields from the heart space as well as your organs is creating this broader field. It becomes one field, because these fields, when they interact, they find their balance, and then they resonate there. Okay, so this is important, because this is a part of how we increase that resonation that we have in our field which will then open these doors into new earth and then into the new vibration, which actually already exists. We're just not on that level yet. And so having this gnosis of your heart and all the organs have their own little reactors, and they're generating this energy and these fields, and those fields are interacting with each other. Just like if you step into somebody's space or you walk in a room, you're like, ooh, I don't like the energy in here. Or I walk in a room or I walk to the beach and I'm like, that is all because the field that you're in is then raising and expanding your own field or shrinking it, depending on the energy in the space. And that's happening within your body as well. And obviously food and other thoughts and emotions, right? So that's what's creating this torus field around you in its aura and its resonance, okay? And what's happening inside the plasma gans is that each nano, the GANs again stands for gas in a nano solid state. And so what's happening is that each of these gases in that solid state are like little bitty suns, okay, meaning the sun above our heads. They produce endless energy, and that's one of the reasons I love, just like I love Clayton's technology, because there's no moving parts. It's a one-time investment, essentially. Same thing with the GANs. This is an energy that just keeps producing forever. It's just like he mentioned with the water. There's endless amounts of energy in these GANs. So all these nano gases are essentially little bitty suns producing energy nonstop and forever, that can serve us and improve our fields. And what's happening is that the GANs themselves are not healing the body. They are simply changing the field in the body that resonates with that certain type of GANs, so that the body can just heal itself naturally and easily. And that's one of the things that has been lost in our gnosis too, is that the body in the right state just heals itself almost immediately. And we're seeing some of this technology kind of help us get there faster, but it's not the technology that's healing us, right? And that's why, you can't run around and say, this thing will heal you. No, it's not this thing healing you. It's the body healing itself when you get it in the right state. And that state might be localized, right? Hey, I've got some issue with my knee. Okay, well, put some plasma GANs pads front and back. Put the front one that's stronger and the one on the back is weaker, because what happens is that it creates a gradient. And in the middle where your knee is hurting, this is where all the action will happen when those two fields come together in the middle. So like if I put the same strength plasma GANs pad on one side of the leg and another one that's the same strength, well, they don't need to, the field is the same. So they don't really need to go through your knee and find that harmonious balance between the two fields. So we want one that has more GANs on it, and maybe the other one just has GANs water, which is a lower gradient of the field. And in the middle where your knee is where we want to do the healing localized. It has to find balance in the gradient. And that's where that field will come right into the space that you need the healing and make the adjustment in the field of your knee in that case, right? So that is kind of what's happening here. And the other thing that really unlocked some of the thoughts that I had around energy, which I learned from the Kesh's work, the guy that kind of discovered the GANs, or at least brought it back to life for us, is that 80% of our energy is derived from the skin and breathing and through water. It's not the food. Only 20% of these energies that sustain us come from food. And I think for most of us, we've believed it's the opposite of that 80% of the fuel comes from food. and 20% comes from breathing and maybe some sunlight, right? And things like that. So when you know that, then you're seeing everything a lot differently in terms of, and I think if you think about it, like we've talked about staying into the now moment and doing things that you're passionate about, finding your unique gifts, because when you're, you know, going through your day and enjoying your unique gifts and doing that, then you just feel this resonance. You don't even get hungry. I mean, you guys know, like I could sit here and talk about this stuff all day long, and I'm on fire, right? And it's because my reactors are creating the energy because I'm in my own resonance. I'm in my own uniqueness. And I think just hearing that, say that, hey, 80% of the energy that we really use and generate is not through food at all. It's through the space that we're in, right? So if we're in an environment that brings down our vibration, then we need to change the environment, because it's a large portion of how the energy is created. It's just where you're at. So if you're in, you know, in my case, I'd like to be in a permaculture community or in nature. It's naturally just going to raise your frequency, your aura, and give you the energy you need without needing as much food. And we're seeing that, right, with people moving into, you know, fruit juicing. I mean, the fact that Monica's done what she's done is a testament to that, because she's getting the energy she needs. So there's not a need. The body doesn't want to deal with trying to digest solid foods. And I think for a lot of us that have done some juicing, we know that when we do go back to some elements of introducing solid foods, that the body will tell us that this is not what I want you to be giving me. I mean, and I'll tell you, that's been, you know, with me, like, I'm on a mixed diet, right? A lot of plasma GANs. I'll eat some fresh fruit, and I might have a cooked meal in the evening sometimes. But my body more and more is saying, dude, I don't know why you keep having these cooked meals. It's not really what I want. And so, you know, really thinking about energy consumption and thinking and remembering that the skin is a big part of energy consumption from the sun, and even just from the ether, getting back to this idea of the ether, and every breath work, right? The breath is so powerful. We just think it's this simplistic, like oxygen in, CO2 out. Like, no, that's not how. That's 3D thinking. That's limited thinking. That's not what's happening. You know, just knowing that really the air is a form of a gas, just like we're talking about with plasma GANs, or gases in a nanosolid state. The air is a gas. The ether is a gas, and there's a lot of energy that we can't see with our eyes all around us. And when we're talking about some of these magnetic fields that come from the GANs, it's just basically this. It's the same, you know, microcosm to the macrocosm. What we see is space in this localized area, like everything around me that I can't see, that I'm moving my hands around. There's all fields of magnetism and electricity and dielectricity in that space. It's all around us. So every breath we take has a lot more to do with, you know, those energetics than just taking in oxygen. And I think that's important to note. Anything on the area of water in your own? Have you guys made some tweaks and changes? I'm sure with Monica, you're already getting so much structured. The one thing I'll tell you, Monica, I'm not sure if you got a device or not, but when I was in Idaho with my family for Christmas, I took my device with me, and it was the first time I had an opportunity to take and put juice through the structured water device. And I just put it through 3 times, and immediately when we drank it, our heads were like buzzing. It was amazing. So it was interesting to see, like, the power of the juice, the structured water, those biophotons. You can actually, and I felt like there was a compounding effect. Like I generally drink My drinking water, I usually pass it through 3 times. But when I ran the juice through 3 times, it was like, oh my God, that like our heads were actually buzzing. There was a feeling in our head immediately when we started drinking that. So that was an interesting observation.
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten my device yet, but probably this week I'm gonna order it, and I'm gonna do that with the juicing and just the water because, yeah, I mean, I totally believe it. I mean, I saw it when you brought it in that day. It changed the flavor of the water. You know, it just made it clear. I mean, it was very distinctive. So it's. I mean, I already saw it worked. You know, so.
Yeah, so I'm just planting that seed of the excitement for you, because even with the juice, it was just like, whoa, it was like so amazing what it did for the juice. And there may be, and Clayton maybe, have some feedback, but it was clearly like some sort of compounding effect on the power of the juice already, because it was only, I only passed it through 3 times. It was like, whoa, imagine if I kept going here and did it 10 times, what it could do.
So basically what it's doing is it's releasing all the things that are good for life, and it's neutralizing, or let's say removing, energetically removing all the things that are bad for life.
Yeah.
So your body has the capacity to deal with the things that aren't good for you.
Yeah.
But it takes energy to do that. So when you're drinking water and or juice that's structured, you're getting a compounded effect of the goodness that's within those compounds. Compounded, and the, let's say, the excitement, the gratification that your brain and your whole physiology is feeling reflects. It's awakened on when you do that. And it gets better and better and better because it's able then, your physiology, your body's able then to utilize the energy it would put out to protect you from the adversarial effects in water and or juice. It's able to utilize that energy for what it was originally designed to do, which was to bring you back to who you're truly meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a really beautiful, and we could go into some of the terminology of what this is. Basically by structuring, all the nutrients in the juice are instantly available to your cellular level. If you didn't structure it, then your body has to metabolize it to make it available for your cellular level.
Good point. And that would explain the experience that we had, where like immediately, even it being on the tongue, that structured water juice, the structured juice was just like, it was wild. So good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm super excited. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna get it this week coming up, and I'm gonna test it out because that's gonna be amazing to see the difference. Because I'm so used to the texture now. So yeah, I want that buzzing feeling in my head.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's so beautiful. The other thing that I consistently see is I've used structured water for my dog and my tower garden, and you name it. My plasma gans. It's just when it comes through, when you're pouring that water into something, whether it's coming out of the structured water device or, once you've structured some water, you're then pouring it into another glass or whatever the case may be. There is a there is a brilliance and a spectrum in that water that you see. It's like a rainbow inside the water that I've never seen before in water. And it's just, it looks electric. It's really an interesting thing that I'm putting it out there so that you look for it when you get your device and you're doing this. It's really something special. And it's like, it's a subtlety thing that you pick up on. But the first day that I got the device, and I immediately was drinking the water and actually created a structured water enema, and it was up till 2 a.m. It was something that I noticed when I had the big bowl of water prepping for the enema. I was looking at the water. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It had this like aura about it, that the water itself, and you see it even when you're just pouring the water. It's wild stuff. So, and I have set up a sump pump. I set up a sump pump that was hooked to the structured water device, so it would just sit there and put the water through a bunch of times. I ran it for like 7 minutes, and I'm like, I better turn this off because I don't know what realm I'm going into here. And so, but that water was, it was next level. I mean, it was something that I had to be very careful with. I had to tell you that, because what I've learned with the Plasmagans and likely with the structured water, if you do what I did, where I was pumping it through the device over and over again and just increasing the energetic potential of the water, is that you can trigger a healing crisis to where the body actually is detoxing too quickly, because there's so much energetics, too much power coming in too quickly, right? And so, in this transition where I'm sort of seeing that already, where with a lot of my Plasmagans consumption, where in many cases I'm not really getting hungry until 4 o'clock in the day. That's kind of been my where I'm at. I've just introduced a new form of Plasmagans, the Gold Gans, and this stuff is next level. So we'll see where it goes from there. But my point is that it's a staged, transition. I think someone like Monica could easily benefit from the Plasmagans and the structured water because her body's kind of ready for it, right? She's a clean vessel. And I think, we just have to know that we can't just go gangbusters with some of this stuff, because, just like with juicing, right? That juice, sometimes in that first week or so, people are like, I'm foggy headed, I'm this, I'm that, I'm seeing, sores in my mouth. Like the body is detoxing some of the stuff that doesn't serve us anymore. Cause it's like, yes, yes, you're giving me, I've been waiting for so many decades for you to give me this amazing stuff. And it can create a healing crisis. So although Plasmagan structured water is never going to truly harm you, the body can harm itself by releasing things that too quickly, then the system can actually eliminate. So that's the thing to know, is that, you can trigger a healing crisis by going too fast with some of these energy sources. Anything else on water before we keep rocking? So powerful, this stuff.
Yeah, one thing I'd say is your body really knows what you're doing. And if it is too much, a lot of times what will happen is you'll inadvertently spill it before you consume it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are signs, right? You should be looking for those signs.
Right. Or something will happen that sidetracks you from consuming it.
Yeah, and just an example of that I've observed is that sometimes when maybe I'm not in the now moment or I'm rushing things, I will find that, like when I'm cutting vegetables or fruits or something, maybe for my daughter, prepping her lunch or whatever the case may be, I'll drop the knife, and that's when I step back and I take a moment and I take a deep breath and
breathe,
recenter. Yeah. Because I'm observing that my source self is telling me that I needed to realign,
And
And
the more, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to say yesterday, just because of the knife thing that you mentioned, yesterday I cut myself, and like today, this morning, it's like completely healed. I mean, it's like the fastest thing. Like I can't believe it. Like it was like I needed a Band-Aid, and it's like healed, you know, and it was like a pretty big cut. And so I know my system's like really, really like healthy and just healing itself, because it's like this type of, you know,
It's got everything it needs.
would have probably taken, you know, at least 3 days to heal. So it did it like in 1 day. It's like it sealed it up, you know, it closed it and sealed it up. So yeah. Anyway, just because you mentioned this knife thing, it brought it to me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
The body can and knows how to heal itself, for sure.
When you give it the proper ingredients, you know,
Yes.
like whether it's structured water or GANs or whatever it meant, everything that the body needs, in a sense, is there now. When you have the foundation of you know, that everything that you take in is going to be utilized in its perfect form. And everything that is not good for you goes right out your elimination system. The one thing you have to remember, just a reminder, is everything you eat and everything you drink goes out your elimination system. It's energy of the food you eat and drink that goes to your cell, that feeds you, that energizes you, that enlivens you, that awakens you.
Yeah, and I think that that brings up a good point in terms of, and it's a good transition as we talk about food, energizing the body beyond belief, is that some of the gnosis through Kesha's work about plasma GANs is that we're talking about energy in a gas state, and I'm sure that's what's playing out in the structured water too, right? We're not in the matter state anymore, and so this idea of consuming solid foods is inferior, completely inferior to a very high degree. It's completely inferior. And again, with Monica here, and she's in a testament to that. And she's realized that for herself, that solid food is inferior food. When you can step into these realms of, you know, energizing water by running it through over and over and over again, or you know, drinking juice, which is just extracting the biophotonic awareness energy from the fruits and vegetables. And you can step into plasma GANs, where it's just strictly energetic plasma fields in the gas state that can fuel the body. You will find quickly that, and then realizing that 80% of our energy really isn't even coming from the food, even though for many, especially in Western culture, just consuming so much food, it's scary that the body has to deal with all that. And when you can come to that gnosis, then you'll naturally start looking for opportunities to, hold on, I'm gonna let my dog out so he can do his thing. You'll start looking for opportunities to wean off of the solid foods and look for the energetic opportunities. Sorry, bud.
Clayton, I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with this? I mean, how did you run into, how was this, how did you discover it?
Well, I'll just give you a brief synopsis. I grew up on a farm in Minnesota, and I went to college, and then I went to college to be an engineer, and I come to 2 years of college, and they wanted to know what kind of engineer I wanted to be. I didn't want to choose wrong. So anyway, I ended up, they recommended that I go in the Air Force for 4 years. And by that, then I could figure out what kind of engineer I wanted to be. I did join the Air Force. And they give you a series of tests to decide where you best suited to work. And I was offered a job I went to an interview with two men in black suits, and they offered me a job. I spent 40 years in the military and government in research and development, and one of the things I bumped against was water in its perfection, and I wanted to bring that water from nature into a research facility, and part of my training to do what I was there to do had to do with learning how to be centered, be connected, be grounded, and all the benefits that comes from that, and train me to accomplish this. In a lot of things that I accomplished, those technologies didn't physically exist. So it was a matter of going into another realm in order to receive the information in order to accomplish or bring a three-dimensional product into play. And primarily it's this. It's asking a question and being able to hear the answer, and then take the answer and actually put it into fruition, or bring it to fruition. It's that simple. Everybody has this ability. The ability to, and primarily it all stems from being grounded, being connected. Know that that the energy through you comes up through the earth to the cosmos, and down from the cosmos into the earth. You are a conduit of energy constantly. And every time, every moment that you deviate from that, you lose. So I learned to be pretty much in that realm. Now, I have to tell you, I'm still human, and I did make mistakes. I ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time several times, but I learned from it. It's kind of like dropping the knife,
Mm-hmm.
or tipping over the container that you have so diligently made this concoction,
Mm-hmm.
energy field. I mean, the areas that I was in and the things I was doing were volatile and very potentially detrimental to life. But I know, and I've been given in so many ways that there's more for me to do. That's the reason I'm still here. There's more for me to accomplish. I have the potential tools to go much further into producing and bringing forth products that primarily will aid humanity to survive, no matter what comes. And I know this. I mean, I'm here. So, as far as water goes, that was primarily, again, I just observed water in its perfection, and primarily in nature. When you test that water and you look at it scientifically, it doesn't compute, basically, because it's, you take, say, one water is Hunza water out of Pakistan. Hunza water is white in color, which you would think has a very high level of materials in the water. but when you go to test it scientifically, it reflects water that is pure.
In terms of parts per
million, right? It's got a parts per million of like 3 or 4.
like distilled water, it's just 0.
There's water in Alaska that's the same thing, and that water is gray. It has parts per million of 3 or 4, but there's no filter that can remove it.
The gray or the white?
Either one. In Pakistan, they drink the water. They use the water for all the things that you would, and they live inordinately longer lives. They have babies at 80 years old, or even older. I mean, it's a beautiful place to be and to engage with life. But in Alaska, they use that water, say like for cities, and people have been educated to believe that the water needs to be clear. So they do. They take this water this is glacier water, the water, and put it into ponds or tanks.
All right.
And then they spray it with powdered aluminum.
Oh my God, poisoning us.
Well, the powdered aluminum precipitates out the gray and makes the water clear. However, the energy of the aluminum is still in the water.
Right.
This is what Anchorage is drinking. All the communities are drinking that water that's highly toxic. And what does aluminum do to the human physiology? Yeah. It brings you dementia.
Dementia and Alzheimer's, yep.
Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So look around.
And that's what's in your antiperspirants is aluminum, and your sunscreens, aluminum.
And the aerial spraying is aluminum. That aluminum keeps the compounds aloft.
Mm-hmm.
And that is getting into everything. I mean, anyway, it's not a pretty picture that's being perpetrated. What I'm trying to do is produce and put forth into Justin, who is to me is the magic that I've always needed. Somebody to truly market this, to truly put forth the understanding that people need to engage.
Yeah, he's the magic I've always wanted to. So that's too.
I've got some great stuff coming that I'm not going to tell anybody just yet, but yeah, I've got a lot more good stuff coming in that.
Yeah, I kind of figure you have a lot of stuff under your sleeve. I know. I just from the background, I was like, "Are you in Costa Rica? Wait a minute, you're in Santa Monica. You can't be in Costa Rica. What is this thing? This is like it's so real. Like you're there. It's serious."
So are you going to Costa? You're going to go to Costa Rica, or
I'm in California now, but this is the place we're going to be staying, and that I'm trying to find an investor to potentially purchase. So we're going to be staying here at this place that's behind me on the green screen in February for 2 weeks, hanging out.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and then. So I put it up, and she's like, wait, you're already in Costa Rica? What's happening here? I was like, gotcha. Yeah, that's how I manifest it, I just
communications works there too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's if you can find that place that feels right. But it's true in the middle of California also, and I'm in the middle of I'm out here in the desert in Arizona. you know, and I'm creating my heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm. That's it. A question that kind of came up for me that, I mean, it's kind of like I already know the answer, but I want to say it out loud so everybody can kind of take it in, is that, especially with someone like Monica and other people in Juice Group, is that I know that you've worked many years and you've got a buddy who's highly trained in this area of color therapy. It's one of the reasons that you make the portable unit in different colors, or have in the past. So it's interesting that Juice obviously has very distinct colors, and it's one of the reasons that humans are very attracted to fruit, and it's why that you see these bright colors being used in marketing, and it's because humans have an innate attraction to fruit, and they can see fruit from a distance, hanging from a tree. But it's interesting how we could start to even incorporate color therapy, which is a highly studied subject that really no one knows about, and relate that to the juices that we may be making, so that we could serve the body even better using that. What are your thoughts on that, Clayton?
Well, color. The first portable I made for water, portable, something you hold on to, carry with you. It was white in color, but as I got into this, and there are places all over the world that are using those white colored under the sink units or garden units or house units to change the food that they're preparing for people. There's a place in California that makes potato chips. Potato chips never go rancid. All they're doing is structuring the oil that they're making the potato chips with. And it goes on and on and on. So when you add color, okay, even the color of, say, grape juice or grapes or orange, or it doesn't matter what the color is, but it does matter what the color is, because the color has profound benefits over and above water. Water. It's the color. And the first color that we did as far as a portable was cobalt blue. Primarily, we did cobalt blue because of the appearance. But when we got into looking at what it actually does, so everything that you put in through a structured unit, like your juice, for instance, I mean, you can add different juices, and you may know that they don't necessarily all go together really easily. But when you structure them, what structuring does is it emulsifies. Basically, it causes everything to interplay or interweave.
To find a balance. Right?
And a greater benefit or greater consistency. So when industry wants to mix things, structuring is a perfect way to mix it, because it makes everything blend easily without a lot of cost. So color, the first cobalt blue, and I could get you a list. There's probably 30 different attributes that come with that color. And where does it come from? It comes from the light passing through the color into the structuring unit. Whether it's water coming through there, or whether it's juice coming through, or whether it's air coming through, or whether it's sound coming through, everything takes on that additional color. And the frequency of the color goes emulsifies into the water or into the medium, and makes it, gives it more benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest benefits that we saw from the cobalt blue color is an effect on your, is a a major effect on your thyroid. Everybody in the United States, and the majority of countries around the world suffers from hyperthyroid. It is primarily because of the consumption of chlorine and fluoride, combination thereof. And so when you use the cobalt blue color, it reduces that projection through the thyroid. Basically, it's radiation. It takes away the effect of radiation. And thyroid is where you would see this. Anyway. So.
Yeah. So I just see that there's an opportunity probably to do some even mapping, maybe using, I know that your friend, I've got a link to his website, which has a lot of the breakdown of the different colors and how they affect the energetics. There may be some real cool alignment to a juicing menu of sorts with really understanding the color benefits of juice from that perspective. So it's definitely playing into it's sort of like, I'm just trying to bring awareness to that actually is going on with the consumption of juice that most of us don't really know,
Right, exactly. And there's so much more to know.
I know, right?
But it's getting there, getting, I wanted to do, the individual who put together the formula for color therapy was Denshaw. Denshaw, back in the 1800s, early 1900s, he put together formulas and color therapy formulas for healing every disease, 360 some diseases, that simply by shining incandescent light through a lens or through a color lens onto your body.
Yeah.
And and the one thing I'm going to remind you here is, again, this works when you're grounded, when you're connected, when you're present.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, what does color therapy shining on your body do? It reverses your aura. Your aura reflects the condition of your physiology. Not many people can read auras or see auras.
Mm-hmm. Not yet.
But it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have a condition, a physical condition, your aura reflects that physical condition. What this light therapy does is it neutralizes that color on your aura, which affects your physiology, your internal mechanism.
Yeah, so it's a whole nother realm of opportunity for us.
Right. So I wanted to do, there's 12 colors Denshaw provided. I wanted to do a portable with all 12 colors. I started down the world, but my company balked when I hit yellow, because yellow is pretty clear.
Yeah,
and so you can see
That's why that's why I got that one first, and my wife has it in Nicaragua, and she's loving it. So that one I think is it really helps the lymph system, right?
Yeah, right. It alleviates lymph. It moves the lymph through your body with ease, and it also has a major impact on your muscular motor system, your joints and your muscles, and etc. So, yeah.
Now I know Monica wants to order a structured water device here soon. Would you just recommend the Cobalt simply because
I would recommend Cobalt for most people because it's really well well-rounded. The other thing blue brings is more oxygen into the water, which is something we all need.
Yep.
Significantly. And I have, and this is something that you and I need to discuss sometime. We can discuss it here if you'd like. Personally, I've learned, I worked in the energy field all my life, military, government, and now here, you know, even, but energy. So, you know, we've touched on this with air, water, food. Everything that you do has to do with the energy. Who you are, what you accomplish has to do with energy. You know, and the beautiful thing is we have command and control over the energy of our physiology. We just need to exercise it.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, you know, I often say what I'm about to do or what I'm doing, when I build it, they'll come. And that's happening, you know, really. Justin is here in my life. What more do I need? I had to say that, Justin.
I appreciate that, brother.
But again,
I feel the same way about you guys. So.
The advantage here is, you know, when you talk about right frequencies, now that's a frequency, 528. I mean, I can take a portable and put 528 in the portable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do anything to it other than set it in front of a rife machine, you know, for 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it takes to impact that unit with 528. And everything that passes through that portable will reflect that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them that I'm doing right now is memory, improving your memory and improving your energy. Well, memory is a simple frequency again, 2 million. Not very many people have access to that frequency,
Mm-hmm.
but the right frequency goes to 2 million easy.
Does it? Okay.
So if you sit in front of 2 million for, say, 3 minutes, it'll improve your memory.
Interesting.
And energy is 9,000. You can do it that way, or you can sit. Again, I have energy devices where I can put elements, or let's say medications. I don't take any supplements physically. I take them in water because I'm chemical sensitive. This is something that I've acquired after 40 years in military government research facilities. Highly chemical. I have a chemical. Anyway, I have an intolerance to chemicals, and so I put everything in water.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just telling you, it's all about energy. The really big thing to know here again is all of this, everything that we would do in every direction we go, it's all about being able to hear the answer to what you're asking. And that comes down to the foundation of being grounded, being connected. Hey, I'll give you I've said this before on your presentation, Justin, but maybe I haven't. One of my teachers teaching me to learn to have command over being grounded, being connected. His solution was to take your shoe and sock off of one foot, put it up on a stump, and hit your big toe with a ball peen hammer. Guess what that does?
Brings you in this now moment.
It brings you into it brings your whole brain, everything, all your activity focused it internally to your big toe.
And then when you can feel that feeling, now you can go recreate that feeling. You don't need to hit your toe every time, right?
Right. Right.
But
Oh,
it's such a great example of what it takes to get us unlocked from this like external, like all these distractions and the processing and,
Right.
you know, the
So
nonsense.
he would threaten me with that. If you don't get this right, you're going to go to the ball peen hammer. We're going to go to the ball peen hammer method.
wow. That's that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's jump into thoughts. I mean, I think it's really a no-brainer, and I think what I've found through the process of, and I'm sure Monica has experienced this with being on Juice for so long, is that the thoughts change, right? That you unlock all that old programming and just release it, so that you can step into that new earth energy, these new realms of thoughts and perceptions and seeing the world in a different way, so that you can start to take more compassionate action. And I know that Monica is in Brooklyn, New York, with our brother Mark, and learning new things about breath work and meditation, and probably some other things. But just, any thoughts here on thoughts and emotions? I've got. So one thing that I learned through the GANs that might help any conversation around thoughts is that it's a 3-part sort of way to think about it, okay, to kind of think about these energy fields, is that the physical body is the physical, okay? These energetic fields is the emotion, okay? So all these emotions are what create how we feel, obviously, but they are the things that are adjusting and changing these fields. And that's where a lot of the GANs or Juice or Structure Water is playing a role in tweaking those emotions so that we can be in the, the core. We can get back as close to it as possible to the core, which is that 0 point, that unconditional love, that, neutrality that's been used, right? That state of awareness is really at the soul level. That's the core of it is, and then the emotions are helping the physical body deal with the game, essentially, or this experience that we're in. The emotions help us move through it. And but a lot of times, because our fields are not in the right place, because of external stuff, the way that we eat, the way that we think, all these things are playing a role in how the emotions energetically affect the field. So again, as I talked about GANs not being the thing, or GANs or fruit or whatever the case may be, those things aren't healing the body. It's they are adjusting the emotions so that the body can heal itself. And it's because they are harnessing, as Clayton mentioned, where they're not harming the body, they're actually finding the right resonance that you need based on your soul energy, which is a lot of where your uniqueness is coming from. And so these stages of physical, the gas form, which is the emotion, and then the soul energy, which is the source of that heart space, that unconditional love, that 0 point neutrality, or a state of awareness, is essentially the spirit, the etheric. You're beyond the gas form that we have in the emotion. So that can kind of help, like, oh, I get it now. I've got the physical body. I've got this not so physical matter. And what's interesting about the physical body too is that it's much more malleable than you realize, right? So it's much different in its form than the table or a rock, right? In terms of how malleable energetically it is, right? So the more dense something is, it's because the vibration of it is much, much lower. So as vibration grows, we get much more fluid and much more ethereal. And we've talked about Age of Aquarius and this being about the ether, the air. That's what you're going to see with human beings, is that we're going to become much more ethereal, even if we are still in physical bodies, at least for now. That may change, right? So it's sort of like knowing that there's a physical body, okay, the emotions and the gases and the energy fields interact with that physical body, and then those gases and emotions and energetic fields are, being projected essentially from the soul, which is that awareness, 0 point, heartfelt space, the unconditional love space. So, and that's where our uniqueness exists. And so the emotions and the gases and the energy fields and the physical body is just what allows us to traverse this experience for the soul's journey. So if you can just kind of picture those three components: physical, gas, emotion, and then soul, heart space, kind of thoughts about how all this works, then you can be in better realization of how to best serve yourself and bring out the best version of you in this experience.
When you breathe structured air, 2 breaths brings all your vital signs to normal. So basically what structured air does is structured air contains an enormous amount of free oxygen. And structured goes right to your brain.
I feel it right now, one breath. Awesome.
It takes your brain into regulation. When your brain is regulating, your chakras come into perfect alignment, 0 point. There can be no disease when you're regulating, because disease comes from comes through your emotions. When you get stressed, it takes its toll on certain organs of your body. When you're angry, you can go down the row of what anger does to your physiology, what grief does to your physiology, what gall does, affects your gallbladder, right? When you don't like what somebody else is doing, all these things affect various organs in your body. Another thing that it affects hydration, because it prevents your physiology from being hydrated. So, emotion. Mm-hmm. Bring your emotions to 0 point. And it's simple to do. You can do it through just breathing. Mm-hmm. And hear me. When you breathe through your nose, you're structuring the air you breathe. Not perfectly, but you're structuring it. Your left nostril spins the air to the right. Your right nostril spins the air to the left. Structured.
Double vortex, yeah.
The moment that you breathe through your mouth, then whatever's in the air, your body has to deal with. Then it's up to your immune system. If your immune system is off, which it would be if you're stressed, or you're emotionally caught up in something out there, there's where the ball peen hammer method comes into play. Nothing exists out there, and it truly does not. The only thing is we think it does. Mm-hmm. The truth is, all there is you. Justin and I are just facilitators to aid you to think more clearly. That's it.
Mm-hmm. As is Clayton and Monica to me.
Yes.
That's
and I think this is one of the reasons that when we get together in a group, we share energy, and it's also very powerful. Like, we feed off each other, like we actually heal each other just by the transferring of the energies at this type of level, where we're authentic, we're real, we're raw, we're like speaking from the heart. This is like profound connections
Mm-hmm.
that are like healing. So I think it's very powerful too.
Yeah. Staying on the same topic, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
It's just going to get better from here.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty. And so let's talk about a little bit of healing. I mean, we've already talked about it through all this process. And, again, I think for us to fully bring as much as we can to this kind of space, this co-creation space, we have to be healed. We have to get to that healed state. So the more that we can heal others and ourselves, we can be the best versions of ourselves and bring the best versions of ourselves to the table and enjoying that now moment. The thing that I have feedback here is that I was in contact with Dave LaPlante, who was the inventor of the Primer Cube. And again, for anyone that hasn't seen his Primer Field videos that he's created over the last handful of years, and you can find, I think his YouTube channel is Dave LaPlante, but you can just search Primer Fields. You'll find those videos. But he has somebody and I think it's in the Czech Republic, that is very close to mass production of the Primer Cubes. I'm in contact with them, and they're going through their the certifications they need from the electronics establishment, essentially, so that they can legitimately sell these and be certified, so they can sell them across the world, essentially. So I don't have any pricing data just yet, but I'm in contact with them, and as soon as they are willing to give me more details on that, I will keep you posted. So to kind of revisit what's happening with the Primer Cube is that Dave has figured out how to use electromagnetism to heal the body, and it is a patented technology that he's now released to the public, and so he's not producing the device, but it's because the powers that be would basically either end his life or in his livelihood, because the device in some instances has healed the body completely within 10 to 15 minutes. So this is not what the establishment wants hitting the market, but because we're in this new energy and the way he set things up and he's released the technology to others, there are people actively across the world starting to produce the device, because he gave everybody the plans to use 3D printers and stuff like that, so that even somebody that doesn't have a manufacturing facility could make the device for themselves. But fortunately, we do have somebody in the Czech Republic that will go to mass production on the Primer Cube in the coming months, and I'll keep you abreast of that as we move forward. The other thing that I continue to use is the advanced TRS, which is a nano zeolite technology that can pull metals and all toxins really throughout the body. But I think where it really has an effect that other healing properties or techniques and tools don't really do a good job of is pulling the metals, the heavy metals, out of the brain. So it's one of the few products that can go across the blood-brain barrier and attach to positively charged elements, which are generally toxins, and carry them out of the body by encapsulating them safely. So a lot of products or techniques and strategies around chelation is the word that's used to remove metals from the body. Unfortunately, they can be effective, but they can also create new problems, because once you release those toxins from one area of the body, as it's going through the elimination system, they sometimes can attach to another area of the body. So you kind of get in this loop of like continuing to chelate the body, which is somewhat stressful because the body's removing all these heavy toxins very quickly. The nano zeolite that comes from advanced TRS is highly effective for that. So Maya is using it. I'm using it daily, and there's more to. So I'll keep you abreast of some of the things, and we're already seeing some things with Amaya in terms of her willingness to use her voice and her ability to, or just like active energetics towards wanting to learn how to speak the words and practice her words. So there's some good signs early, but it's one of those longer term things that I think will take time to show itself. Any thoughts? Or I continue to use my infrared sauna. I highly recommend you get one if you don't have one at your gym. If you have it, for me, we have a local gym here in the community, so I don't have a gym membership anymore. And unfortunately, they don't have a sauna, so I bought one for just under $200 from Amazon, just like the lady sitting there reading a magazine in the little cocoon. I'm doing that almost daily, and just awesome, right? Getting that lymph system moving any toxins out. It's a really powerful strategy, and it has a lot of effects of actually exercising too, right? Even though you're just sitting there, getting that infrared sauna. So another one that I highly recommend. Any thoughts or feedback in your experience, maybe Monica, with some of the stuff you're doing with Mark that play a role in the healing space? Or
Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of, as far as the healing stuff. I think it's a lot of emotional traumas that we go through, and we kind of just have to clear up the space. And I think it's all a process, but it all comes down to what Clayton said about how it's just the now moment, and this is where it all gets created. But it does take a lot of getting rid of the stuff that doesn't serve you, to be able to get to that point where you can actually make, conscious decisions, based from the heart center. Because I think we're just making decisions that are just producing the same results, And one of the things when we were talking right now, also, that kind of got me thinking about, the level of clarity that I have now through juicing. I think eliminating all that food, I think for me has made my awareness, has risen my awareness too, so that I could hear things, and I could actually do all these processes that would probably, be much harder to do. So
no question. Yeah.
When you stop drinking the dead water and you put the structural water in, I'm sure it's gonna, be a game changer. So yeah, and I would do the infrared too. So I did that too. I have a gym back home too, and I would do that, and it was like really, really good too. So I do that.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and I think the thing in terms of emotional traumas is that what many of us don't realize too is that much of it comes through the DNA too, the RNA, and there's some ties to, I can't remember what it is in terms of, I don't want to tell you the wrong way, but I think it's the RNA is the emotion. So we've been talking about energetics and fields and how the plasma gans ties into emotion, but I think it's the RNA that carries that emotion. But I think a lot of the emotional trauma has come from previous incarnations, the ancestors. So from our DNA, we're carrying on some of these emotions through that lineage that also, has to be worked through. And so sometimes a lot of people are like, I don't know why I'm so, emotional or whatever. I thought I went through and dealt with all this stuff. And it's like, this stuff is much deeper than just your one incarnation here. And, it's not just these emotional traumas in some cases are not just from, the lifetime that you've had right now. So
yes, you're right. RNA is emotional. Mm-hmm. And it can be carried from, well, it is carried from lifetime one.
Mm-hmm.
Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And that be lodged in your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So So, there's another major field of study, really, how to interplay in the subconscious, and bringing the subconscious mind in congruency with the conscious mind. That's what psychiatrists do.
That's what they try and do.
Right. But
one of the other things that happened here at the seminar is this like Tai Chi experience that me and Mark were playing with.
Uh-huh.
And all this energy started building up, and it was just amazing. It was like, what is this thing? And I totally felt it, and it was powerful to feel your own energy. It's like when you actually feel it, it's like, this is not something that's just like made up. This is real, and it's inside of you, and you can harness it, and you can like build it, and you can expand it, and you can do so much with it. So it was like, that experience in itself was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is real. It's right here, and it's amazing.
So all these devices raise the chi in your body. What is chi? Chi is the energy that supports every cell in your body. It's the life force energy of your cellular structure. It is the energy that aids your cell to potentially bring back its original DNA and RNA. So the greater the chi in your system and in your life force energy, the greater the potential is that you will reclaim who you're truly meant to be, physically and emotionally. That's what all this is about. Mm-hmm. Structured water, an enormous amount of chi energy. When Justin talks about passing his juice through the portable 3 times, he's increasing the chi in that juice. So what we do, we have house units, that structure water, it runs through there, and it's under pressure. It's extreme chi energy. So structuring is simple. It's just a matter of spinning the water to basically create the ability for the water, the air, the sound to reach a status basically of penetrability, or let's say the structuring is the viscosity of the water, the viscosity of the air, the ability to pass through materials easily, or the physical easily. The human body, that level viscosity is measured in dynes, D-Y-N-E-S. The level must be 46 dynes or lower to enter into the cell. It's the same way with air, because air is the same. Air is hydrogen and oxygen and many other things. But again, it needs to be able to penetrate. It needs to be able to access your cellular structure. And where we are, the things that we've eaten, the things that we face, in a sense, have kind of caused our physiology to be more complicated, less available,
broken.
In a sense, yes. We're compromised.
Compromised, yeah.
So all these things that Justin is bringing up can alleviate that compromised condition or place, can bring us closer to what we're truly meant to be. The goal is, again, we're entering into an arena now of Aquarius, where we, especially taking on these principles or these possibilities, We'll become more light beings, biophoton beings. That's what we are. It's just that we're kind of clouded yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again, Qi, it has many names. Qi is Chinese, prana is India,
Vril.
Ki is Japan. We measure it as biophoton, but it's also 0 point. That was the first name given to that form of energy.
Scalar is another word.
Scalar energy, longitudinal energy, Tesla energy.
Mm-hmm. It's all
orgon and your GANs. They're all the same, right?
Yep. Vril is another.
Vril is another one, right? Every researcher that come against this energy form give it a name because it's unusual. And the unusualness of it is that it has the ability to penetrate all things. There's no barrier to it. So you can create, so you just through your thoughts can create a energy field right here, and somebody on the other side of the world can receive it. So that energy form is, again, energy. That energy goes into the unified field. Everybody has access to it, no matter where you are in the universe. It has that potential. So the key for all of us to remember is when you're looking to create something, you better follow through with it. Because the moment you think about it, it goes in the unified field, and somebody who wants to access that is thinking about it too, and has the tools and or the money to pursue it. It's gone.
Yep. That's what happens when you see, like, people in the case of inventions, you normally see that there's more than one party working on the same thing, and they don't realize it until they show up to the patent office, which I don't recommend you do anymore. Just, you don't need a patent anymore to protect your stuff, in my opinion. But
in fact, you lose with a patent.
Yeah, exactly.
Multiple ways.
Yeah, you lose with the patent, exactly. Awesome. That was a great breakdown, Clayton. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I'll keep you guys abreast of any new updates on the Primer Cube stuff that's coming. But I think you're right. It's just about, like, leveraging these tools to fast forward the process, because we don't need to sit here and take years upon years. Like, that's an old way. Those are the old rules. It's not the same linear approach to acceleration, energy acceleration in this space. So a lot of these are just tools to get us closer and closer to who we truly are.
You get across the bridge. Once you get across the bridge, you no longer need the tool.
Right.
Because it's all internal.
Mm-hmm.
You are it.
Mm-hmm.
You are the tool.
That's powerful.
Exercise it. You need to exercise it. And when you do, when you exercise it and you see results from your exercise, be grateful. As you are grateful, it gets easier and easier and easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I am in full gratitude of all of your contribution. I feel very blessed and honored to have been a part of this conversation.
Mastermind group.
Yeah, we're at the round table here, so we're all bringing value to the table. So you being here has been a blessing too. I don't think I have anything on the education space. Shelter, as you guys know, I'm actively I'm a big fan of these dome homes and Fibonacci architecture, but I think on another topic, just the idea that that I'd mentioned in terms of what I'm trying to do with moving to Costa Rica myself. I'll just put this into the reality. This is a property that's in a permaculture community. It was built by about 3 years ago by a woman that actually does a lot of healing and stuff. She's a sweetheart. Her goal is to actually, she wants a lot of animals, horses and stuff. And she's actively trying to sell her home here in Costa Rica on this permaculture community so that she can buy a horse ranch in Guatemala, because that's what's calling her now. And she lives, so this was so cool because she was so smart and built this property to be basically a B&B property. So this, the home is very open-ended, and it has 6 bedrooms, 4 of which have doors that you can access on the outside of the home as well. And so this will be the place. It's, what you see behind me. So it looks like I'm there already, but this is going to be the place my wife and I and my sister are going to be staying for 2 weeks when we're in Costa Rica next month. But it's also, I ran the numbers, and it's just a great investment opportunity. So I'm kind of putting it out there in terms of if there's somebody that wants a vacation home in Costa Rica that's in a private gated permaculture community, that also is interested in an investment opportunity, because even with using Airbnb and those similar services, I mean, it can generate probably about $3,300 a month, which should cover any mortgage fees. And then the concept of being able to do retreats here, where the current owner, that's what she does, because she does different ayahuasca ceremonies and mushroom ceremonies and healing processes and all these different services that she offers. She's selling that at $3,500 a week for each individual. So you can see how between that or doing, in my case, doing business acceleration coaching or retreats there, we could probably, pull 5,000 ahead. So that would include accommodations, food, and the actual training that is a part of the offering, where this property could generate anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 a month if it was used every two weeks for a retreat. So that, I'm just kind of putting that out there so that if that resonates and ends up, coming across a conversation with somebody, then I'd love to talk to them in more detail about what I see possible with this property. And I've already talked to the community, and I know what the HOA bylaws are, and they're really open-ended. They've got some really cool community assets. They have a huge teak yoga deck, or it's a place where you can do, presentations and all kinds of, you could do you have a whole yoga class there, or they have a saltwater pool. They have all these other community things that are part of the community. And what's so cool is that generally Sophie, the owner here, doesn't use a lot of those, because a part of the rules is, hey, if you're going to use the yoga deck, or you're going to use the pool or whatever, the rest of the community can participate for free. So that's the agreement. So, what Sophie will do is use her own home, because there's just so much space. There's over 3,000 square feet, which you can't see all of it here, but and her 4 kids, I think it is, they live in there's a 2-bedroom. There's kind of what you don't see in this picture. The other 2 bedrooms is behind a big door that slides open, and it's like 2 bedrooms with an office in between those 2 bedrooms, where her and her sons basically live. And then, guests that are coming in use these other rooms. And so she's able to do most of her retreats both in the home, and also she takes them down to the river, where there's a nice spot where she can do a lot of her different retreat activities. So, so I'm just putting that out in the space in terms of shelter. Is that's where I'm staying, so I can get a real feel of what's possible in that space. and there's a potential opportunity for somebody that's interested in a home in Costa Rica and partnering to have us maintain it as a B&B when they're not there, and also leverage it for providing income. So, and I know Monica's at least in the process of selling her home or working on that. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about that because yeah, this sounds really after doing all this work with Mark. Sorry about that. It just made it more and more clear that. Sorry, I had to charge my phone and
yeah, no worries.
yeah. So yeah, we'll talk more off camera and stuff. But yeah,
Cool.
this sounds really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go now. So I just wanted to close off saying, you know, it was great to see you guys on video. Sending many blessings, love, and we'll talk
Much
soon.
love. Much love. All right, enjoy your day, and it's great to see you.
Thank
Tell
you so much.
Mark I said hello.
Yes, for sure.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Eli, what's up, brother?
What's happening?
How you doing?
Good, man.
Good. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah. Wanted to catch the meeting. I was up pretty late last night, so I just woke up about 20 minutes ago.
So let's talk a little bit about energy. You know, some of this stuff is, I've still got to get my hands on some of it, but what's interesting is I've been watching some additional videos on YouTube, and I bought some supplies, which much of it should show up today, actually, to where you can just make, you know, these copper coils and using a ring magnet and easily create this little, you know, very small little device that I can just hook a lamp to, and it's always creating energy, and now you just use the switch on the lamp to turn the lamp on or off. So I'll keep you posted on that, but it should be a fun little project. And it's really just kind of that taking those, you know, as I say, moving, you know, the small hinges move big doors. It's like just taking a step, like, well, if I can make that work, then I know exactly how to, you know, create a little device that doesn't rely on the grid at all. I can turn on a light. Okay, well, if I can make that work, what's next? Well, how do I create a similar thing that will power the refrigerator? You know, kind of just taking baby steps. So one of the things in the energy space has been like doing that for myself. I'll keep you guys posted on
Does your Costa Rica spot, does it have, how much of the sustainability does it have built in already?
It's a good question. I don't think although many people in that community, I think there's about 45 to 50 homes in the community. I know that a lot of people in the community are using solar, but I don't think she has solar on this particular property, which is kind of exciting because, you know, the traditional setup of solar is very expensive, but I think you could combine a lot of things that are in this slide here together, where you can use solar panels, because the panels themselves aren't that expensive. It's the systems that kind of control the energy and the batteries that tend to get expensive. But you know, really combining solar panels or some other method, like the method I just mentioned with using, you know, copper coil with a ring magnet at a greater scale, could charge these graphene supercaps that I've got pictured here. And these supercap modules that you see in the picture at the top right, you know, they run under $300, and they have 72 watt hours in them. So very similar to the big battery you put on the cordless drill. It's the equivalent of that, but it's not using lithium ion, it's using graphene, which means they charge in like 5 to 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. So so that's the power and what's possible in terms of, you know, going into another environment where there's an opportunity to use some of this technology to remove ourselves from the grid. You know.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's
I
mentioned.
put in solar on my home. I have 40 solar panels on top of my house.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost me like 47,500 about. I didn't put batteries on. I am connected really to the power company, because the excess that I create of energy goes back to the power company. The system was actually turned on in September, and I received a check from the power company just yesterday, a couple of days ago, for $5,500.
Whoa!
Man, that's
Uh,
nice.
that's
No,
an ROI right there.
not $5,500. It was $550.
Okay.
550,
That's still a nice check.
and no batteries. So all the energy that I consume is being created by my solar panels. So when I draw energy at nighttime
Mm-hmm.
from the power company, I'm paying retail price. The power company is paying me for the solar at wholesale price, but still I created enough energy to receive a check.
In the day to offset your retail consumption of nighttime.
With no batteries.
Interesting. And then and your reasoning for that was cost, or what was your reasoning there?
The reasoning was it's kind of the way the power company wants to see it. You could put batteries in. Cost, yes, and serviceability. You know, batteries aren't. I mean,
Yeah, they're not set it and forget forever. Yeah.
kind of the way, but they're super expensive.
Mhm.
You know, I'm going to do one thing though. When the electricity goes off, if it's at nighttime, I'm still without electricity.
Yeah, you are. You're dead. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put in a GenAir, which is a motor generator that kicks off when the electricity goes off.
And that's
$1,000, and it would provide all the electricity I could ever use here.
what's its source of energy?
Propane.
Propane. Got it. Beautiful.
But it is a beautiful thing. I could feel the difference when they put those solar panels up and the electricity started coming. I could feel the difference. It just felt cleaner.
Yeah.
Everything. It's just a total energetic change in my environment. Anyway, it really feels good, and I'm really interested in your graphene supercaps.
I know. I need to I just got so much going on. I hadn't had a chance to get my hands on one, but I think I'm setting the stage for that with the free energy, ring magnet. See if I can get that going, because then that could charge those.
So I just got a notice also just the other day from the power company. They're increasing the cost of electricity 7% here. They say within the next 10 years, I don't know, it's going to go up really dramatically, but 7% is pretty huge.
Yeah, in the next 10 years they won't exist.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, free energy again is definitely there. There is, the technology is available to us. The problem still is the status quo, the control. Like I say, my solar is controlled by the power company. Still.
Yeah.
Even though it's.
Yeah, and the key is recognizing that and taking compassionate action towards finding solutions to that. because whether it's going to the grocery store to get your food or expecting water to pour out of your faucet or whatever the case may be, like that's just bad programming to believe that's always going to be there, or that what's coming out of it, or what even with your energy, the fact that you feel it's cleaner energy, it's telling you something, right?
Right. What I want to do is develop the water source on my property that's independent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is independent because it's from a well, but I still need electricity in order to get it out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. So you are on the well. You have your own well then?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Right.
Because I know there's some people that are even, have found that they have a well on their property, but they've been on, the city water, and they've tried to switch it, and like they came in and fined them like $50,000.
Right. Exactly.
They're trying to. They know that this is coming apart on them.
Right.
And it's all nonsense because the city water and everything about the city water actually belongs to the public. It's only the meter that they own. So it's just a complete racket. So, it's interesting to see how some of this stuff's playing out. But yeah, that's all the only update that I have on the energy space in terms of powering homes and things is that I'm learning more about some of these simple devices, electromagnetic devices.
So on supercooling, I don't know what you're talking about there, but remember, if a fan turns to the right, it creates heat. When a fan turns to the left, it creates cool air.
Yeah, no, we discussed that briefly, and the supercooling in number 6 there was more of a download that I got, that supercooling was going to be an important component to basically generating a high amount of endless free energy, because the need to keep the cooler you can make it, the more potential energy can come out, at a faster rate.
Right. Again, that's left spin. The same thing with water. You spin water to the left, it creates a colder water. You spin it to the right, it creates heat. And the reason is, it's just simple physics. Anything anything turning to the left. Okay, so why do race cars here, why is the track turning to the left? Why do you roller skate to the left? Why do you ice skate to the left? The reason is because mass is pulled to the left in a left turn.
Mm-hmm.
So mass, when you turn a vehicle, when you're in your car and you turn to the left, you're going with you're actually improving the energy of the turn within the turn. Mass, it's pulled to the left. When you turn to the right, mass is still pulled to the left. So when you turn to the right, it will throw you off the track real easy, or against the wall.
Very interesting.
The southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. To the right. So when you let water down a drain, water turns to the left. The southern hemisphere turns to the right.
It's interesting you say that. Even on riding a motorcycle, it feels more natural to turn left than it does right. You control your motorcycle on left turns. So you just connected the piece for me.
This is all part of what we of the environment we're living in. But know this, we need both of them. You need the positive and the negative. If you take and choose one, you lose. If you choose, positive, or you choose negative, it doesn't work. It needs to be, the answer is balance. You need one, you need both of them. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Which gets
So-
us back to that 0 point, right?
Yes. So every time that we choose one specific frequency, say this to you, Justin, one specific frequency, eventually you lose.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because it's not balanced. The frequency is just a tool to find that homeostasis within us. Yeah.
Exactly.
And change is the only thing guaranteed in the universe. So there's planetary forces. I think Saturn's one of them. Like when that energy comes through, it's one of the like it balances whatever you're doing. So if like you're too complacent, or if you're holding too much onto good or positive energy, it'll probably bring that balance to, I don't know, throw you off your, your high horse or whatever you're just trying to hold on to. It'll probably try to correct that. So
Yeah.
Well, I want to say something here. I really do feel that the combination of voices in your form are really essential.
Mm-hmm.
The more voices we have really that are in like mind or similar direction, I mean, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
Yeah,
Know that.
Unlock it.
If we're more gathered together in like mind, there's nothing that can stop that.
yeah.
Until you have doubts. So you really need people involved that have are let's say family oriented, want to move whatever the subject is forward, because I mean that is the way to the solution.
Totally. Yeah, it's so important, and that's why this co-creation space, and like you said, just getting new voices, new concepts, planting seeds in them, and then they bring their own values to the table is so powerful.
So I'm coming on to the end of my day. Sovereignty is the last one. Okay, yeah. I have a project in my backyard. I'm on a gopher. Let's say on a track. I got one planter left to remove the tree from and put a screen down below to prevent the gophers from eating the roots.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
got it. Yeah, we'll wrap up here. The only thing I have here is that I'm kind of on step 3 with my discharging of my car loan. And what was interesting is I'd sent 2 letters, and I'm like, oh God, okay, because they didn't respond to the first letter. Sent the second letter, and again, I didn't really expect them to even respond to it, but they did respond, just after the 10-day window that I gave them. So I was ready to, almost like the day I was supposed to be, because I put it on my calendar to send the 3rd letter. I got in the mail their response, and they did exactly what the process kind of tells you they generally do. Like they tried to give me like some portion of what I requested for them, and essentially what they sent me was like some hokey response to their claim that I do owe the money, and then they gave me they just took which is probably on their computer somewhere from the original agreement that I did sign, the financing agreement. They sent me just like a really bad, because generally those are the legal size, super long pieces of paper that you sign on. They're super long. These ones you go to the car place and they're just huge. And they printed that, or they made a copy on like an 8.5 by 11, like a little dinky version of it, which clearly is a copy of the contract, not a certified copy of the contract. So basically I just sent the 3rd letter to them, which is the step where I'm saying, here's my fees for basically, at this point, basically I'm charging you $30,000, which is 3 times the outstanding loan amount, which is what they recommend you put. And then basically if you call me, I'm going to charge you $1,000 an hour to talk to me. Basically just saying, if you don't discharge the debt, you're in violation of all these, codes and regulations, because you can't prove the debt. You can't prove that, that you have the contract. If there's no contract, there's no debt. There is no debt. So basically it's forcing their hand to discharge the debt and remove anything on the credit report associated with that, that Social Security number. So that's where that's at. So we'll see.
So you're just gonna follow through with sending the third one?
No, I sent the third one, so I'm going to be waiting on their response. So all this is being sent certified mail, so I know that they're receiving it, and I have proof of that. So, I think the big thing is that they did respond, right? Because if once they respond, then they know that they've got to prove their claim, and if they don't prove the claim, then even by default, even if they don't respond, I would have to go to court, and basically by default, by them not responding, then they're agreeing to my, because they didn't respond. They have to prove the claim. Whoever has a claim has to prove their claim.
So that's the next step is you would go to court with.
Well, likely they will discharge the debt, because the allegations against them for the fines that are associated with the laws that are already in place to prevent, what's going on here, are much too large for them to want to go into court, even though it's only 10 grand. If they go to court, now it makes it a public event that they're being shown that this is they're doing this to everyone. And so now you have a court case that if it went through, one, they don't want to be up against the fines, which could get into the tens of thousands of dollars for them. They don't want to spend the money on the attorneys. They'd rather get rid of me so they can keep doing this stuff to everybody,
Yeah.
So the likelihood is that they will discharge the debt and move on to somebody that, doesn't know what they're doing. So they don't want to go to court, but we'll see. If I have to, we can do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's updated.
That's all I have on the sovereignty. I did create a life claim, which I do recommend everyone do. Let's see if I have that here. Yeah, so I have this document, which is essentially saying I'm a living man, and this is a fact. This is a fact. I have 2 witnesses with their fingerprints, with a Red Fox stamp, which has actual gold in it. You can buy these on Amazon. They're about $4 or $5 a piece, or eBay. There's not many of them that exist anymore, but they're actually, so this piece of paper has its weight in gold with that stamp. And I've sent this to myself. So it's registered. You can see I put the registration number from the certified mail. So it's what a lot of people don't understand is that the post office is everything across the world in terms of contracts, or the post office used to be the bank. And they still have gold at these post offices. But when you go into a post office, you have to understand that there's the post office, and then there's the United States Postal Service. The United States Postal Service is a private company. The post office really belongs to the public, even though it's the same people that operate it. So the post office plays a big role in a lot of this stuff, because now this is a fact, and anything that they have to present is a fiction, and a fact always trumps a fiction. So having this sets the stage. It's almost better than the, although you should do the passport process But it's a fast forward way and a simple way to kind of not have to wait 3-4 months to do the UCC process and kind of all these things. Like, to me, this is the best thing to do. And it's based on Parse syntax language, which is a language, the real language that we should be using, and ultimately has mathematics tied into it. It was sort of unraveled by a guy named David Wayne Miller, which I highly recommend you look at his stuff. He's now passed away, but he wrote a book that he studied 6,000 years of language and unlocked the whole thing. Okay, and he wrote a book, and the day that the book got published, he had this the Secret Service at his doorstep and telling him, "Do you know what you just did?" And they told him that he basically made over 5,000 treaties null and void by the publishing of his book, because he presented the truth in language and how this system has been inverted to basically keep us from taking control of our own sovereignty. So David Wayne Miller, this guy is a genius when it comes to this stuff. The guy can write with his left hand, his right hand. He can read left to right, right to left. And he unlocked this whole thing. So this live life claim is something he originally created, and it's written in a way that will be like, what is it saying? And it's because the English that we speak is not proper English. It's completely inverted. The stuff that they teach us in school is incorrect. So I highly recommend you look at this, because I've got a template. One, I can give you the template, and so you just need to go get a couple witnesses. Go get your passport picture so you can put a picture of yourself on here. Go get your Red Fox stamp and follow the process, and you've got a fact in your hand that trumps all these fictions, whether it's your driver's license, whether it's, all this stuff. So this is a real simple one, but extremely powerful, and it's based on David Wayne Miller's unlocking the code, essentially, on the language that gets used. And a lot of this stuff is starting to roll into, like for this third letter, the thing that I did differently is I signed my name, put my fingerprint next to that signature, and I wrote on there, autograph, copy, claim. I have a claim. I'm making a claim. So they can't copy that document and use it. They can't do anything. I have a claim. I have a copy claim on that document. So a lot of the elements that you would see or that's used on the live life claim can be used on some of these documents to discharge debt, because the attorneys that they have or whatever, they see this stuff, they know they can't, they're playing with fire, because they're just opening up, they can't do business with living people. They can only do business with dead entities, and that's your all caps name, your estate. And so when you start to use some of these elements and you start using registered mail, and they know that the real, what they're getting themselves into by sitting there telling me that, oh no, you still need to pay this, So they know that they don't want to go there, and because they're, the percentage of people that are doing something like I'm doing with discharging debt is so small. I mean, I'm sure it's growing, but I'm sure it's still so small in terms of their total business. They don't want to deal with it, so they just discharge it and move on, And that's the power that we have once we can unlock this stuff, right? It's super powerful. You just get your sovereignty back. If we can get rid of these falsified debts where they give us our own money and charge us interest on that money, to pay back our own accounts, and then we can start to unlock ourselves from the grid, get off petroleum, not have to worry about whether our lights are going to come on at night, and step into our full power, then our potential is unlimited, And that's the thing with me. I mean, in terms of making the transition to Costa Rica, not only am I going to be in an environment that I want to be in a permaculture environment where fruits and herbs and all kinds of beautiful stuff of growing all the time. But it's going to cost me $700 a month to stay in the place that I want to stay in, the exact property. So, even though I'm trying to find a way to buy the property from her so that she can realize her dream in Guatemala, I can stay there for $700 a month, which includes electricity and water. And I get access to the entire 3,000 square foot property and all the community. And I'm paying 5 times that here for an apartment in California. So immediately the power that comes into me when I can get into that place and really lower my overall cost to operate from a dollar's perspective, it's just absolutely huge, The environment I want to be in, but save, thousands of dollars every month. That just changes the dynamic of what's possible. So, any thoughts on that before we wrap?
Doesn't apply to me. I'm a ward of the U.S. government.
Yeah, you are.
I draw retirement from military and government. So
you're enjoying your benefits and privileges from the U.S. government.
Yeah, I know a few people who have gone the route that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had a friend that he taught. He was doing like seminars for big companies, and primarily it is he was teaching being grounded, basically, that type of instruction. And the companies he was working for had government contracts. When he took the route of sovereignty, he lost those contracts.
Yeah, sure. Because they see you as not in allegiance with their
right. I just want to remind you all of that. Mm-hmm. It separates you. Yes, you can. There's a lot of potential, but also there's
ramifications.
Right.
So. Yeah, there are many people that have worked many decades to build up those benefits and privileges that you get because you've shown allegiance to the United States, that you potentially will lose by changing your status and moving into this realm of, no, I'm not a U.S. citizen, I'm a state national. I was born in my case in Georgia. That's my allegiance to the republic, not to the United States, which is a private corporation that lives in Washington, D.C. So yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios based on what's going on. I think Clayton brings a good polarity to the way I see it and where he's at. It's just because of his experience, and he's already put in the years of work to build up those benefits, and he rightfully is enjoying them. So and then for my case, I've been a business owner for many years and really just been more of an extraction for the U.S. government than anything.
Anyway, I got a tractor calling me.
Go get it.
So I'm going to go out.
See you. Thanks for all your input today.
I'm going to go wheel my John Deere out and dig holes in the ground.
I'll get the quantum roundtable call set up for us too, so we can kind of. Did you get a chance to hear back from your friend to see if he wants to join?
Yeah, I know I haven't. Okay. I haven't heard him. He's probably out. He's probably in Costa Rica.
There you go. I hope so. All right, cool.
Yeah, they moved their company to Costa Rica basically because because of the tax liability here and a lot of other things. The things they're doing.
I love it. See, I mean, even getting closer to him too. It's awesome.
Yeah. He hasn't come.
Anyway, so I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Have a great weekend, Clayton.
You too.
All
Bye
right.
bye. Let's see.
Eli, you want to connect on some other stuff?
I was gonna get to work. I was gonna ask you about. Did you wanna? How many more products is
Let's take that offline because I'm recording here. So.
Okay.
Jump back on. I'm going to turn this presentation off and just jump back on the line.
Okay.